So second derivative test is another way to find what the minimum and maximum values are, okay? Another way to find minimum and maximum values, if you look over at the board, okay, is when you have the first derivative and it changes from either positive to negative, that will give you your maximum, and if it changes from negative to positive, that's how you find your minimum, okay? So that's another way to find it, but there's another way using your second derivative, which is a little bit quicker, that allows us to find it. So basically what you do is you are going to find when your first derivative is equal to 0, and then you are going to test those points in your second derivative, okay? Notice this one is your first derivative, this here, first derivative. And then you are going to plug in to your second derivative the value of c that you found, and then if it is greater than 0, we have a relative minimum, and if it is less than 0, we have a relative maximum, okay? So if we want to find what these minimums and maximums are using our second derivative test, we can do that by finding our first and second derivative. So first derivative I'm going to find here would be negative 15x to the fourth plus 15x. That's my first derivative. Oh, squared. Okay. We're looking at when is this equal to 0. So if I set this equal to 0 and I solve, I factor out a negative 15x squared to give me x squared minus 1. If I solve this, I could factor that again, right? So that'd be negative 15x squared times x plus 1, x minus 1. And then what values are x going to equal if I solved this equation?
0, negative 1, and 1.
Yeah, 0, negative 1, and 1. Okay? Now, those are not like affirmative, a relative minimum, or a relative maximum. We have to test that into our second derivative and then evaluate is it greater or less than 0, okay? So our second derivative, let's go ahead and take the second derivative of this function. The second derivative would give me, what is that, negative 60 x to the third, and then plus 30x. And now we're going to take our values here of 0, negative 1, and 1. And I'm going to plug those values in to my second derivative. If we didn't have the second derivative test, the first derivative test just tells us that I could put these on a number line and test the intervals in between to see where is it changing from positive to negative or negative to positive. Okay, but this way is a little quicker. So I'm going to plug these values in. F of 0. When I plug 0 in, what do I get? 0. Okay, is 0 greater than or less than 0? No. So at 0, there's nothing that happens. It's neither a minimum nor a maximum, okay? The derivative is still 0, but it's neither one of those two things. Okay, let's plug in 1. If I plug in, negative 1, plugging in negative 1 into my second derivative, I would get negative 60 times negative 1 plus 30 times negative 1. Is that going to give me a positive or a negative?
Positive.
A positive, right? So it's a positive, which is greater than 0. So if it is greater than 0, specifically, I think it was like 30, right? If it's greater than 0, looking back up here, we have a relative minimum. So at x equals negative 1, f of x has a relative minimum. Ooh, I also noticed that I forgot to put these two little lines there. We're not plugging it into the function, we're plugging it into the second derivative. So kind of check your notation there. Now, could I find specifically where that minimum is occurring? Like, I know the x value. Could I find the y value?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can find the y value by plugging it back into the function, right? Okay. And then lastly, I'm going to test the point 1. If I plug 1 into my function, my second derivative specifically, this one right here, am I going to get a positive or a negative value? A negative, right? Because negative 60 times 1 plus 30 times 1, that's going to give me negative 30. So it's a negative value, which is less than 0. And if you look up above, if it is negative, then we have a relative maximum. So at x equals 1, f of x has a relative maximum. Again, this is just another way of finding exactly what we found last class by looking at the first derivative and testing our sign chart on our first derivative to see where is it changing from positive to negative, where is it changing from negative to positive. And that allows us to find our relative minimum and maximum. Okay? Any questions on that? Okay, let's go to the next page. Now, this example is not like strictly second derivative test. We will do a second derivative kind of test problem here, or like using it in a second, but we are going to look at a table and be able to identify some things from this table specifically. So we've got x values, f of x, f prime of x, and f double prime of x on our table up here. And then we're given some values of zeros, okay? And we need to answer the following questions. So first one is identify all of the x values where f has a relative minimum, okay? So using my first derivative test, we're looking at where is it a relative minimum. So if you don't remember what that means, if you look over on the board, when it's a relative minimum on the right, we're looking at when is the derivative changing from a negative to a positive, okay? So relative minimum changes f prime from negative to positive. And the first part of that says that the derivative has to be 0 or undefined. So if I go back to my first derivative line, where is that derivative 0 or undefined? What x values? Yeah, -1, 3, and 7. So on my number line, I'm going to test those three values. -3, -1, 3, and 7. Okay? These are all the possible points where we could have a relative minimum. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look on my table, look to the left of -1. Is that value positive or negative? Positive. Look in between -1 and 3. Is that a positive or a negative value? Negative. In between 3 and 7, is that a positive or a negative?
Positive.
A positive value. And then after 7 is also a positive value, okay? Using our table, we just found the positive versus the negative of our first derivative. So now, using that idea, where is my derivative changing from negative to positive? What value of x? 3, okay? So this value at 3 is changing from negative to positive. Therefore, by using our first derivative test, we can say that there is a minimum at that point, okay? So let's say at x equals 3, f of x has a relative minimum because forgot my train of thought there for a second. Because the first derivative changes from negative to positive. You have to justify your answer. If it says to justify, you have to give that explanation. Okay? Now, in this class, if you gave me this kind of explanation, I'd give you the points. But if it's like AP test, they're not going to give you the points for just a sign chart. You have to write out what your conclusion is based on doing that sign chart. Okay, next one is looking at, again, all of the x values where f now has a relative maximum. Okay? And we want to justify this using the second derivative test. So the second derivative test says that if I want to find a relative maximum, my second derivative of x has to be what? Greater than or less than 0? Less than 0. Yes. It always is backwards in my brain. You think it should be greater than, but it is less than. Okay? So, we need to look at, also, if we're looking at relative maximum, we're still using that same value to test of our first derivative, okay, for when it's 0 or undefined. So looking at my second derivative values, where are they less than 0? If I look back up here in my chart, they're less than 0 where? -3 and -1. But for our x values, where it's happening at, we have to use our first derivative zeros, right? Because that's what the relative minimum, relative maximum says. Our f prime of x has to be 0 or undefined, so it's actually occurring at what value?
-3. 1 and 0.
So okay, let me restate this. So like, it's 0, first derivative is 0 at -1, 3, and 7, right? That's like the first condition. The second condition says, okay, well, now that I know the first derivative is 0 or undefined, we're looking at when is the second derivative on those 3 intervals, so here, here, and here, where on those 3 intervals is it less than 0? Well, it's less than 0 over on the left-hand side of -1, right? Does that make sense? Let me color code this. So, we got the left side of 0. We got in between, not 0, sorry, the left side of -1. We got in between -1 and 3, in between 3 and 5, and to the right of 7, right? Those are all the intervals that I tested just right here, correct? So we have to use those same intervals because we care about when is the first derivative 0, but then we care about, okay, well, on those intervals, where is the second derivative less than 0? Well, the only ones that's got a negative second derivative is this one right here, right? So this point is going to be our relative maximum because it's negative over here. Everywhere else it's positive, okay? So we can go ahead and say that at x equals -1, f of x has a relative maximum because f prime of x equals 0. Oh, I should probably put the actual value. F prime of -1 is 0, and the second derivative at -1 is less than 0. That's your justification using the second derivative test. Now, we could use the first derivative test and also find the same information out, okay? If I look back up here at my chart for the first derivative, relative maximum is where is my first derivative changing from positive to negative? Well, it's changing from positive to negative at what x value? At -1, okay? So you can use the first derivative or the second derivative, but this one specifically said to use the first versus the second, okay? Do we see the difference between those two and how to test? Okay. Looking at letter C, identify all the x values where f has a point of inflection and justify. Well, what does point of inflection even mean? If you don't know, look at the board, okay? On the left-hand side there. That's when the derivative is 0 or undefined, and when the second derivative, I meant to say, is changing signs from positive to negative or negative to positive. It doesn't matter which way it changes, okay? So, looking back at our table up here, on my second derivatives, let's just make a little chart. I think that might help us see it a little bit easier. So this is going to be my second derivative chart, okay? And I'm looking at when is my second derivative equal to 0. So what numbers am I going to put on this chart?
1 and 7.
Yeah. Yeah, 1 and 7. Okay, and then I'm going to look at in between all of those intervals, what is happening? Is it positive, negative, or 0 for my second derivative? So if I look to the left of 0, or sorry, not 0, left of 1, are those values positive or negative? Negative. So I'm going to put a little negative sign there. In between 1 and 7, positive. And to the right of 7, positive. And again, my second derivative has to change signs in order for the point of inflection to exist, right? There's possible points of inflection, but they aren't necessarily points of inflection unless they change signs. So what's the only point that you're going to have here on this table? 1, right? At x equals 1, f of x has a point of inflection because our second derivative at 1 is equal to 0, and our second derivative at 1, actually I'm just going to say of x changes signs at 1. Okay, for point of inflection, it doesn't matter if it's negative to positive or positive to negative, but if it is maximum or minimums, then it does matter the order of those if you're talking the first derivative test. Okay? If I asked you what was the actual point at x equals 1, could you tell me? What is it? 1, -5? Oh, -1. Okay, I heard 1, -5. Yes, 1, -1 would be your actual point of where your point of inflection occurs, right? That table here has your f of x values in the first row. So that's just your y values of your function, right? Okay, last one here, we are going to cross off example 6. We're not going to do that one. But we are going to do this last example, letter D, writing an equation of the line tangent to the curve, y equals f of x, at x equals 5. Okay? So tangent line, I need a few things. I need a point and I need a slope, right? Well, I have my point of x equals 5. What's my y value if I go back up to the table?
3.
At 3, yeah. So 5, 3 is my point. And I want my slope at x equals 5. So what's my slope if I go back up here at x equals 5?
2.
Yeah, the first derivative, right, underneath at x equals 5 would be 2. So your slope, I don't know why I put parentheses there. Your slope is just 2. Can you write an equation of that line now? Go ahead and do that. Either one of those answers in point slope form or slope intercept form is good for me, okay? All right, so we're going to take a quick little pause. I'm going to have you guys go try out some of those problems using your second derivative test, okay? So use kind of that first example that we talked about. That's going to be the most similar to the problems that will be on your homework. And then after about 10, 12 minutes or so, we'll move on to some connecting our first derivative, second derivative, and our function together, okay?
Okay, where is this?